Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we are going to look at the PT16A tactical flashlight from Brynight. Now this comes on the heels of the PT16, and right away as you take a look you can see vastly different size in the boxes. When you look at the front, the flashlights look fairly the same, but I can already tell you that there are going to be some differences, maybe some enhancements, maybe some changes, and things that might catch your eye if you like a good quality tactical flashlight. Before we start this entire review, I can say Brynight always doing a great job. Their flashlights are made really robust, nice quality, great beam pattern, excellent features, and I believe that's exactly what we're going to see here today with the PT16A. So what we're going to do, we'll bust this out of the package, we'll take a look at it in detail. I'm actually going to compare it just a little bit with the PT16 to say, well, why the upgrades? Why the changes? Because if Brynight made changes, you know they are for a reason. And we'll get this thing out to the field for some practical field use. And after all of that, we'll come back to the studio and I'll give you my final thoughts. And so with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Brynight who did provide this for review. And so now as we get into this, again, I'm going to set that PT16 aside, but the PT16A. So here you can see in the box, nice packaging as always from Brynight. And as we get into this here, again, the PT16A. So I'm going to get this on this side. I'm going to break this out. We'll get this on this side. And right away my question is, well, are these the same size? And generally speaking, the answer is, yeah, these are. They're the exact same size. In fact, at an initial glimpse, they look exactly the same, but there are going to be some differences. Now with this kit, and this is where some of the extra accessories come into play, here's the battery, a tactical ring. So that is something that I did not get on the original. So again, that's partly why we're adding accessories here. Here's your charging cable, which is a USB Type-C charging cable, which I like. The PT16A leveraging a 21700 lithium-ion battery, 5000 milliamp hours, 3.6 volt, and 18 watt hours of power. And keep in mind the fact that you will have your USB Type-C charging port right on the back of the flashlight. And as I look at it here, it is a slightly different design. And I kind of remember that this flap on the original version kind of always got pulled open. It was real easy to get it open, but it would always be open. And in this case, they've recessed it, made it a lot smaller, and it will be harder to get on. You're probably going to need to dig it out with like the tip of a pencil or something like that. I'm just fine with that. In fact, I prefer that if it's going to stay in place. So that is going to be the powerhouse for this flashlight as we unthread the tail cap here. Nice threads. Brynight always doing a fantastic job. And this is gasketed. So as you take a look at the inside here, always gasketed. You do get extra gaskets, which I've never used an extra gasket for a flashlight a day in my life, in my flashlight history, but they all seem to provide them. Going to put this in with the positive side down and threading this down and into place. And now this should come to life, which it does. In the box, a lanyard and a nice carry pouch style sheath. So holster sheath here for the flashlight. You can see it actually has a little sort of accessory section on the side. That's cool. Actually on both sides. These do give you the ability to carry the flashlight inverted, either bezel up or bezel down. And when you have the flashlight in there, it can still be actuated, which is kind of a cool feature. That's sort of a wild card. That's something that other companies just simply do not do. But the fact that you can carry the flashlight and then activate it while it's in here, you can see again, depending on how you want to carry that bezel up or bezel down. But it gives you a little bit of flexibility there, which is still pretty cool. So I do like that about this. It's unique and it aids and adds to the overall functionality. And then just last but not least here, the information from Bryonite. So as we get into the outputs, the 16 on the left, the 16A on the right, these are both in the low mode. So the low mode on the 16, 10 lumens versus on the A, 5 lumens. So already you can see a change in difference in the outputs. Now for the 16, I'm pressing the mode button on the tail cap and bumping it up 1. On the A, if I hit the tail cap, I can bump it up 1, or I can go to the side switch and I'm also bumping it up 1. So this now is the medium mode. So on the 16, the low mode going up to the medium now 130 lumens, whereas the medium or mid on the A is 120 lumens. So not too much different, just a little bit, 10 lumen difference there. Bumping these up 1 mode. So now bumping it up 1 more on the left-hand side from medium to high. The 16, 820 lumens versus 900 on the A. And again, now up to turbo. On the left-hand side, the 16, this is 2,000 lumens versus 3,000 lumens on the A. So the A does bump up the performance, and it brings you all the way up to 3,000 lumens. Now the 3,000 lumens, that does translate to 52,500 candela. This will have a beam throw distance of around 458 meters. You can see the color temperature very similar, and generally speaking, very similar performance. The difference between 2,000 and 3,000 lumens you can see here. It should be fairly different. You can see actually a little bit maybe tighter hotspot on the A on the right-hand side. It's going to be hard for you to see that, and the camera does wash it out just a bit, but both of these with the defined hotspot and then the flood off to the sides. When you take a look at the heads of the flashlight, both of these with a real smooth reflector. So you can see very, very smooth. No orange peel whatsoever, so these should be a nice thrower. But you can see here on the A, it does introduce those ceramic ball-bearing beads which aid in breaking glass. You did not get that in the original version. But other than that, the construction does seem to be just about the same. You end up with sort of that tactical grip. You end up with the same exact clip. You end up with seemingly the same tail cap. So as we bump these on and cycle through the modes, again, you do have the ability to cycle through the modes on the tail caps. So that works out just fine. And then in terms of holding down the button here, yep, that will go into the strobe. So hold it down, that's your strobe on this one. Hold it down, that's your strobe. A little bit maybe of a different beam pattern. Is this oscillating? Yes. What about this one? Yes. But the rate seems a little different. It looks like it's a little bit faster on the original, so maybe a slightly faster beam pattern. And as I bump these down, now I'm in the low modes. And it's probably just a factor that the lumen output is less on the A, but the beam looks just a touch warmer. But I think that's simply because of the output and not because of the color temperature ultimately of the LED. But now with that general overview, I'm going to get this fully charged up and prepare it for those beam shots. So when we come back, we'll get outside and take a look at the overall beam.
And so now as we get into the field use footage with the PT16A, clicking the light on and cycling down to the lowest mode. This is the low mode, so you can see right in the foreground, nice beam of light. But as I beam over to the side here, again, you can see that nice central hot spot, some flood off to the sides, and doing a fantastic job to light things up. Now, as I beam off into the distance, that will absolutely fall off fairly quick, but at the same time, doing a nice job for my general navigation up close. Half press here, up 1 mode, you can see this here is the medium mode. So the medium really starting to beam. Now as I beam all the way across, you can see it does start to illuminate in the tree line. Now granted, it's not completely dark, but I do need some additional light to be able to see. So as I beam from right to left, the medium mode definitely doing a good job to start lighting everything up. You can see doing a nice job here in the foreground. Another press. This is the high mode. So the high mode, a beautiful cone of light, doing a nice job, a beautiful quality beam, an excellent punch way off in the distance. The far tree line a couple 100 feet away, and this definitely lights everything up. So as you see that cone of light, without it, you really can't make anything out, but with it, I could absolutely identify anything that's over there. Another press, you can see, that is the turbo mode. So turbo here, a big, wide wall of light beaming way up into the tops of the trees, really literally lighting up the entire scene. There is a beaver over there. Let's see if we can go and catch some footage. Pretty good size from what I can tell. Can't quite tell where he's swimming around just yet, but looks like he's off to my left. Now again in the low mode on the left hand side, illuminating the foreground, you can see this tree is about 10 feet away on my left-hand side. Another press. This is the medium mode. Again, that medium mode starting to illuminate out into the water. You can see a nice reflection. Overall quality beam. I'm now about 50 feet away with ease, getting out to about 60, 70 feet. Nicely illuminating everything all the way across to that far shoreline and up into the trees. Now it starts to drop off, but another press. That's the high mode. High mode beaming all the way across a few 100 feet, way off in the distance. You can see those trees are way out there, and this is lighting that up easily. Another press. The turbo, that's doing a fantastic job. And as I zoom all the way out into that scenery, you can see how far off that beam really is. That is a super impressive beam of light. I could absolutely make out anything over there, no problem. That is a very nice quality cone of light and really illuminating everything. Not just that cone and the hot spot in the middle, but the spill and flood down below. Now this does give me the ability to single press on the tail cap and bump through the modes, which is nice. So single press, bumping between the modes. Or on the side switch, I can get on that side switch and also bump between the modes. So depending on what you're trying to do, it does have some flexibility. But now that I have this on, if I long press and lean on that tactical switch, you can see it does put it into that strobe mode. So very effective, nice programming, and it really leaves this light very well suited for multiple ways of operation, including all the way into that tactical strobe, which you see does have an oscillating beam pattern. Another single press and it goes back to a steady mode, back onto the turbo. Clicking the main cap and off.
And so now back from the field use with the PT16A. The beam quality on this flashlight is awesome. Now, I'm not going to say it's the best I've ever seen, but what I can say is Bryonite always brings it. They do a fantastic job, and for some reason, they get it just dialed in. Their beam quality is amazing. That perfect cone, real nice round, just the perfect size and shape, illuminating everything nicely in off in the distance. They get it so that the diameter of that circle is literally exactly what I want to see. With that nice spill and the halo around the outside, this was an extreme performer. Now, keep in mind the fact, again, as we go through this, clicking it on, working through the tail cap. Now, at that point, I do have the ability to get on the side switch and switch between the modes. And last but not least, of course, the main tail cap is a pressure sensitive switch. So as you just blip on that, right now I have the turbo, so a little momentary. That's the strobe mode there, so momentary on the strobe, momentary on the turbo. So I like the fact that a quick little blip does put you in that turbo. You don't always get that. But again, all in all, a beautiful light. That was a comparison about the PT16A, a little bit of versus the original PT16, little more output, little more oomph, that glass breaker on the front, really cool. So this flashlight, I have to say, is awesome. I greatly like it. Thank you very much to the people at Bryonite who did provide this for review. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor. Take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there. So if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.